Valve games have always been a cozy home for amateur mappers. Among their large catalog of multiplayer titles, you'd be hard-pressed to find one that doesn't include a dedicated custom map community. But while some games might support user-made custom maps, perhaps no game in history has spawned more prolific custom maps than a little game called Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike Source.
I honestly probably don't have to explain Counter-Strike to you. Considering this game has been at the forefront of multiplayer shooters since the genre existed, there's a good chance you've run into some version of this game, whether it be old or new. But what you might not be familiar with, especially if you only played the newest entry to the franchise, is its early mapping scene. While nowadays mapping for Counter-Strike is a daunting task thanks to rules, regulations, and accounting for competitive play, there was a time when mapping for CS was the wild, wacky west. There weren't rules per se for how to make a map, they just had to look good and play good, have a nice atmosphere, and act as sort of a social hub, somewhere people wanted to spend time endlessly playing round after round of CS while chatting with their friends. The amateurish nature of the mapping scene at the time meant that anyone could be a mapper. Sure, there was clout associated with certain mappers and certain clans, but regardless, anyone's first map could become a legendary map. Any random person's after-school project could end up becoming prolific. Which incidentally provides a great segue for me to talk about perhaps one of my favorite maps in all of Counter-Strike, CS Crack House. No, not that CS Crack House. No, not that one, not that one. There we go. Yeah, that's the original CS Crack House. A hostage map made for Counter-Strike 1.6 by Mike N3883. CS Crack House is exactly what it sounds like. It's a Counter-Strike map based around the idea of a crack house being the center of attention. If you played Counter-Strike Source for more than 5 minutes, you've probably run into a variation of this map. But the way it was played and the way it looked when it first released is a far cry from how things are today. For starters, Crack House was a hostage map. Nowadays it's pretty much only played with the deathmatch game mode. Considering hostage was the only game mode that existed when this map came out, that's not a surprise, but still, the idea of playing Crack House tactically is almost alien. It just feels wrong.
Watch outside. Middle.
Something else you might notice is the appearance of this map. Truthfully, the version I'm talking about today, and the version I've been showing you on screen, isn't the most popular version of the map by any means. This is the most popular version of the map. See, the most popular version of CS Crack House is the Counter-Strike Source port. To a large majority of people, this is the most definitive edition of the map, and everything else is just extra, including the original. But the glaring problem with the CSS version of this map is the lack of quality. Sure, on its own, removed from context, it's not horrible, but there's no beating around the bush. The CSS port of Crack House looks worse than the original iteration, any way you slice it. The brushwork is lazy, textures are misaligned, buildings are flat and blocky, and it looks entirely different from the meticulously thought out CS 1.6 original. Plus, there's a lot of rooms and details that don't even make sense in the context of the original map, like this very out of place computer room, for example. Why the hell is there a computer room? Why are they on the computer? I started to wonder what the original creator would think of these ports. I started to wonder what he was up to, if he was even playing Counter-Strike still. I took to Google to search for answers and found nothing. Between the sea of re-uploads and remakes, there was no information about who was even responsible for this map, or how it came to be. I started to wonder if maybe I just misjudged the popularity of this map, or if there was just no information about it online. Surely not. I mean, after all, it's only second to Dust 2 and Counter-Strike Source. It's still a very popular map. Still, finding a username attached to this map felt like it was impossible. I desperately searched Google using a whole suite of wacky keywords, and finally came across a person claiming to be the original creator of the map, stating that they were in fact aware of the map's popularity, and that they appreciated the ports that had been made of their map, and that they were now 32 years old. I had to talk to this person, but this comment was made like 7 years ago. Did they even care still? Were they even online? Were they gonna think I was a weird guy, like a weird, strange guy? I mulled it over momentarily before deciding to kick it old school and shoot him a good old-fashioned email. Surprisingly, Mike, the original creator of Crack House, responded to my email. Even more surprisingly, he was willing to talk to me about Crack House. I sent him over my questions and awaited a response, knowing that very shortly I would know more about CS Crack House than anyone else ever did. Besides Mike, of course. I think I started making maps in junior high school or high school. I remember seeing other people's maps and thinking I can do better. I taught myself from tutorials. I made a few maps, the names I've forgotten, but I remember CS Paintball was one I made prior to Crack House. I think I made a Star Wars themed one with a giant sandcrawler you could drive around. I made an Xmas themed version of Mansion at Night. Honestly, I can't remember when I released it. I remember playing it on my clan's server. It was very popular. I wanted to make a fast-paced map with multiple angles of attack. I also wanted to make it realistic as possible for the engine at the time. I remember being upset I couldn't make the police cars more realistic. As a joke, I remember one of my friends at the time had a room in honor of him, with a big pee stain on the mattress. Honestly, I knew the map had a following, but never knew how large. I remember people asking me for the original map file, but I lost it to a failed hard drive. I stopped playing Counter-Strike, I think, when World of Warcraft came out. I played a lot of World of Warcraft and Arma. I saw some of the remakes on YouTube. They look good. I wish they made the map look a little more gritty. My intention was to make it look really run down. I was a big Sublime fan. I thought the loop was perfect for the map. I just wanted some type of drug reference. If I could go back and remake it on the modern engine, I would try for more realism. One thing that always bugged me was I had to end the street at a dead end, which was unrealistic, but back in the CS 1.6 days, you had to make sure you were careful with how many polygons were visible at the time. Maybe a sewer entrance into the house. Nowadays, I'm playing Warzone and Hunt. I really like the Battle Royale theme. I used to play a lot of PUBG also. I don't have time to make maps anymore. I'm 38 years old now, and I have a 9-month-old baby. I only get the game at night when he is sleeping. All I knew was I wanted the action to start right away. I wanted good camping spots for the terrorists and some nice sniper spots for the CT. I really liked how the warehouse windows gave you a nice spot to snipe terrorists on the roof. When I played it as a terrorist, I would always rush to the roof to start attacking the CT down below. As CT, I would always rush inside as fast as possible. As I said earlier, I have a 9-month-old son that takes a lot of my time. I still enjoy gaming. Well, there I had it. Basically everything I wanted to know about Crack House, straight from the horse's mouth. It made me particularly happy knowing that Mike had played Crack House the same way everyone else had, rushing into the big house as a CT and defending the big house on the T side. It reminds me a bit of CP Orange, but in a more unbalanced, fucked up kind of way. It's like janky King of the Hill. It's almost too loose to define as a game mode, but you know it when you feel it. I think the gameplay loop of Crack House is intoxicating, and it's easy for time to slip you by when playing a 24/7 Crack House deathmatch. I'm glad Mike shared that same sentiment to some degree. The small amount of criticism he had for the new reports of his map were interesting. He felt that they lacked the grit of his original CS 1.6 version, and he also wished he could have extended the road so that it actually made sense. While you certainly won't find any grit in the more well-known CSS remakes, there is one CSS remake that checks just about every point on Mike's list, CS_Drug-Bust. I honestly had never heard about this version until doing research for this video. To me, it's the definitive follow-up to CS Crack House 1.6. The grittiness Mike was looking for is here, along with the extended road. In general, the map feels amazing. It's like a modern revitalization of the original CS 1.6 map. The amount of detail tucked into every corner rivals the original map, and it's a shame that virtually no CSS servers host this version of the map, instead favoring the now iconic remake from all those years ago. Still, I appreciate every iteration of Crack House and Counter-Strike, from the original to the remakes to, yes, even the most popular one that just happens to be of the lowest quality. In a way, CSS Crack House's popularity is a testament to how truly volatile mapping for these games was at the time. It felt like complete luck which maps would become the definitive version, and it's easy to forget that a lot of these maps were made when the creators were just kids. Mike himself pointed towards being somewhere around junior high age when he made Crack House. CS Crack House and all of its iterations aren't just maps. I mean, technically, they're just maps in a video game, but they're also relics of a time when amateur mappers were embraced by the community, and Counter-Strike was a little bit more casual. When the barrier for entry wasn't technical, but was more about how fun your map was, and a time when mapping for these games was truly the wild, wild west. Huge thanks to Richter Overtime, Pictures and Panavision, and of course Mike himself for helping out with this video. It wouldn't be possible without any of them. And also huge thanks to this monkey. Huge thanks to this monkey in particular. This This monkey.
They're going, X gon' give it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you. Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. It's a non-stop pop of stainless steel. Go hard, getting busy with it. But I got such a good heart. You motherfuckers wonder if he did it. Damn right, and I'll do it again. Cause I am right, so I got to win. Break bread with the enemy. No matter how many cats you break bread with, I'll break who you sending me. You motherfuckers never wanted nothing but your life saved. Bitch, and that's all the life day. I'm getting down like said freeze.